Getting right to it, we'd like to welcome a new member. Usually Christine Milrick does this, but she unfortunately could not be here this morning, so I guess that the duty falls on me. So who would like to come up? I believe we just have one new member today? Yes. And so we'd like William Rice, Bill Rice from William Rice Insurance to come up and tell us about his business, you know, what he does, and how we can be contacted. Come on up, Bill.
Good morning. My name is Bill Rice. I'm from this area. I grew up in Malden. I've lived in Revere the last 7 years, but it's been just about my whole life that I've lived in the area. I'm working in insurance now, American Income Life. My guess is that most of you, maybe all of you, have not heard of it. The reason for that is that we work mostly with unions. We're a union company working with unions, so we don't have to advertise, so most people don't know who we are. Because we don't have to advertise, we can give lower rates, especially for whole life insurance. We have a couple exciting new programs in our business. One of them is a whole life program for seniors, 60 and over. There's only about 11 medical questions. We just enrolled my wife in a program, and there's not even a physical. That's nice for some people who need a program that has a cash value built in and need some help there. And we also have a Head Start program for little children. Well, I shouldn't say little children. It's from birth to 18 years old. Because they are so young, the rates are very, very low. Can you imagine a 1-year-old going through life paying $7 a month for a $25 policy? So, again, my name is Bill Rice. My phone number is 781-333-0685, and I'm at billrice418@comcast.net. Nice meeting you all.
Thank you, Bill. Okay. So, a few announcements. Winthrop and Revere are hosting a multi-chamber event Wednesday, June 18th at Chatter's Bar and Grill in the Revere Showcase Cinema. Please come join us from 5:30 to 7:30 that evening to network with other chamber members from Winthrop, Revere, and East Boston. This is a members event only. Cost is $15, which includes appetizers and a free ticket to the movies. Could you please register before the event at the chamber office or online at winthropchamber.com. We also have Family Day at the Beach, which is Saturday, July 12th, with activities from 11 to 4 p.m. Please all come join us for a fun-filled day at Ural Beach. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first guest speaker. This is David Keenan. David is running for the Register of Probate, Suffolk County. He is a lifelong resident of Dorchester, married with 3 children. He is an attorney and has been practicing since 1994. So would we all please welcome David Keenan up to the podium.
Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. My name is David Keenan, and I'm a Democratic candidate for the office of Register of Probate in Suffolk County. Now, typically the first question I get is, what is the Register of Probate? The Register of Probate is the chief administrator for the Probate and Family Court. So it's more than just probate. One of the things that we have seen at that court is we have a lot of pro se litigants, people who come in representing themselves who don't know the ways of the court. And it's difficult to navigate your way through the Probate and Family Court. Now, the probate court, the probate side handles things like wills, trusts, things like that we think of typically in probate. However, the family court handles an awful lot more. The family court handles adoptions, it handles divorces, custody battles, it handles all types of things regarding child support, and they can also issue abuse prevention orders. So there are a number of items that are critically important in this position. Now, why am I running? I'm running to bring new leadership to this position. I'm not a politician. I've never run for political office in the past. My background is that I'm an attorney. I've been involved in civic associations. I've been involved in my community, and I've been involved in coaching kids. but also a background in the maritime industry, where I'm a graduate of Massachusetts Maritime Academy and received a tremendous amount of training in leadership, worked on supply boats, again as a mate, again in a leadership position. So the probate and family court needs new leadership in that position. The administrator is in charge of approximately 30 assistant registrars. Now, they're called registrars, the registrar of probate, and the assistant registrars. It's very similar to the clerks of any other court. So you have the clerks who work in the office, and you have the clerks that work in the courtroom. The registrar is also a liaison between the clerks and the judges for the probate court. So it's an important position. It's a position that is elected. The Boston Globe ran an editorial not too long ago about why are we still having elected probate officials. They thought that it should have been more of a appointed position. An appointed position would be fine so long as we have people who are good who get appointed. The election process allows us to vote the person out if we don't like them. Now, the registrar of probate is an office that's guaranteed by our Constitution in Massachusetts, our Declaration of Rights. So it doesn't seem as though that change is going to happen anytime in the near future, because it would take a constitutional change in Massachusetts. So we have the system that we have now with an elected registrar. I'm running for registrar, again, to bring new leadership to that position, to make sure that when people come to the court, they are treated fairly, and they are treated reasonably, and they're helped along the way. Now, some of the programs that I'd like to see expanded or implemented at the court is a conciliation program where people meet with a volunteer conciliator so that they can try to work out their problems. A lawyer for the day program, which had been running in Suffolk but needs to be expanded. That's getting a volunteer lawyer from either the Massachusetts Bar Association or the Boston Bar Association to come in, to sit and to help people navigate through the forms. Another system that I'd like to see expanded is Suffolk Law School has a program where they have a clinical program. They have law students who are in their third year come into the courthouse under the supervision of a law professor, and they will work with a number of the indigent litigants to help them navigate their way through the process. We have a number of law schools here in Boston, and I'd like to see that expanded to all of our law schools so that we have more people helping the students learn and helping the litigants navigate their way through the system. No one comes to the probate court when they're happy except when they're coming for an adoption. That's when the days when the judges have a great time, the registrars have a great time, and everyone's happy. But typically people come in when there's a crisis in their life, and those are the people that we need to help get through the system. Does anybody have any questions? All right, well, I hope that you will consider me for your vote in September. The election is on September 9th. It's along with all the other constitutional officers that are be elected at that time. And that's the primary, again, the Democratic primary. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, David, for coming to speak with us today. And we appreciate you taking the time this morning. So our next speaker is Karyn Polito. Karyn is the Republican candidate for lieutenant governor. Turn the page. Karyn was a member of the Massachusetts House of Representatives from 2001 to 2011, representing the 11th Worcester State District. She held the seat for 6 consecutive terms. Committees on which she served include the House Committee on Ways and Means, the Joint Committee on Mental Health and Substance Abuse, Joint Committee on Telecommunications, Utilities, and Energy, and the Joint Committee on Labor and Workforce Development. So with my pleasure, I'd like to introduce Karyn Polito.
Thank you, Doctor. Very nice to be with you. Thank you, Betsy, for having me today, and Wendy for all of your coordination, and for all of you for attending this morning, and for a great breakfast here today. So I'm very happy to be with you. I want to just say, as I came over the bridge with Janet, who was with me, we started our day in Framingham, I felt like I was on vacation. So I suppose for you here in Winthrop, as you come home to Winthrop, that's how you feel, and you should. It's a wonderful place here in Massachusetts. And as the doctor said, I did have the opportunity to serve in state government as a member of the House of Representatives, and I worked really hard. I accomplished a lot of good things for my constituents. I never missed a vote in 10 years of office, and I felt like my constituents had the best representative they could possibly have. Well, I know here in Winthrop, you should feel pretty darn good to have the Speaker of the House as your representative. You're in good hands. And I have to say, they must have something in the water here, because you certainly have good leaders with Bob DeLeo and also Bob Travellini, who also represented this area. So feel very good about your representation. It matters. It matters who you elect to serve. Elections do matter. They affect everything in our lives. And I suppose that's how I got involved in public service. I started out as a selectman in my hometown of Shrewsbury. Shrewsbury's in the central part of the state, right outside of the Worcester area. And then I did serve for 10 years in the House of Representatives, working really hard and really gaining an understanding of what works on Beacon Hill and what doesn't work. And I've always had the belief that having that balance in government works really good. And like the Weld and Salucci years, having a Republican in the corner office balancing out a legislative branch brings the debate and the discussion and the outcomes that I feel are best for everyone, working families, small businesses, and individuals just trying to get ahead. And that's why I'm running for Lieutenant Governor with Charlie Baker, to bring that balance back to Beacon Hill, bring the transparency and accountability that certainly you have in your own lives, in your own checkbook, in your own small business. We need more of that in state government. So let me just also say about my background, my family. Family is very important to me. I'm sure to you. There's a lot of working families here in Winthrop. I come from a second-generation Italian-American family. My grandmother came to this country as a little girl, age 8. And before her came my great-grandfather, Francesco Polito. And he came to this country with the idea that he could work hard and make a better life for his family. And he came here with $50 in his pocket. He was a man of 5'2", and he had a whole dream ahead of him. And he actually made concrete blocks. He made a lot of them because he saved a lot of money after a while, and he bought a piece of equipment. And from that equipment, he grew a construction business. And now, a couple of generations later, I have the honor of managing that business, and I own that business with my father and my brother, and we've grown it to a real estate business. And it's that entrepreneurial spirit that I want to see alive in the hearts of anyone that is here in our Commonwealth or wants to come to our Commonwealth, to be able to embrace and to do something with. I also have had the opportunity to understand the pressures of small businesses as a small business owner, but also as a member of a Chamber of Commerce, actually 2 of them. The Worcester Area Chamber of Commerce, where I'm an active member of the Board of Directors there, and also the Coeur d'Alene Chamber, which is more of the suburban chamber in my area. And I understand, just speaking with my friends that are in small business, what the pressures are. We know that the high cost of doing business in the state, particularly with regard to energy costs and healthcare costs, are barriers to growing jobs. The higher taxes, regulation, all add up to a very difficult set of circumstances for businesses to grow. And that's why Charlie Baker and I want to get in there and just change some of these things so that we can create a better business environment and grow jobs. We want jobs for everyone. I've always held that belief that the best social program is a job. And if we can have jobs and opportunities available to everyone in every neighborhood, in every region of this state, we'll be doing a whole lot better. Let me just say something about this particular date in time. 51 years ago, President Kennedy signed into law the Equal Pay Act. And that act was meant to bring equal pay, obviously, between men and women who were in the workforce. This many years later, the federal government, Capitol Hill, is still struggling to get to where we need to be on that level. But I know we can do a whole lot more here in Massachusetts with regard to women in business and helping women achieve the pay equity that they deserve and need. Now, it's not just about the 19 cents that the difference between what a man earns on an hourly rate and a woman. It's much, much more than that. It's about creating economic opportunity for everyone. And one of the things that Charlie and I see as we go around the state is that we need more of that opportunity. And how are we going to get it? Well, we have a few ideas I'd like to share with you, and obviously I'd like your feedback. One of the things that we can do to help small businesses is to reduce the regulations. We talked a little about that. But also, one of the things that we're hearing from Beacon Hill is an adjustment in the minimum wage. Now, Charlie and I agree that an adjustment in the minimum wage to somewhere around what the House is proposing at $10.50 might make some sense for that entry-level worker. But you have to think about the impact that that has on the small business owner. Now, we say if we're going to have an adjustment in the minimum wage, then we need to have tax credits for small business owners. And every dollar of increase in that minimum wage, we're proposing a $1,000 tax credit per employee for businesses under the employment of 50 employees per year. So by year 3, you could end up with a $2,500 per employee tax credit. That's important to offset those burdens on our small business owners. When it comes to a worker, we want to put more money back in the hands of the worker. And the earned income tax credit on the state level is set at 15%. We're proposing to double that to 30%. And for a woman that earns $25,000, single mother, that puts $1,100 back in her pocket. And as that income goes up, just think of what someone can do with the power of a little bit more money in their pocket. We also feel that there are many people still unemployed in this state, and we should use the unemployment fund to better prepare people to enter the workforce. If we can take a little of that fund, give it to an employer, and engage an unemployed person into a job, and learn on the job how to do that job, and train them right there, and use those dollars to get that person reemployed, that's going to go a long way to helping people re-enter the workforce and get to work again. We also feel that if we can just get this economy cranking, just think if we can increase state revenues again beyond where we are, what we can do for our cities and towns. Coming from local government, both Charlie and I served as selectmen, serving in the legislature, I know that we need a really strong partnership with our cities and towns everywhere. We can't starve our communities and expect them to grow safe neighborhoods and good schools and have jobs and opportunities right here in your community. And we have proposed, through our economic development plans, we're going to grow state revenues more. If we grow them 3, 4, 5% in any one year, we will grow the local revenue the same percentage. That means we will share the state revenue, get that dollar back to your community so that you can help your schools, your police department, and your fire departments, and just strengthen that relationship between our state and local government again, because it's on the local level where people feel their quality of life. You know that firsthand here in Winthrop. You are largely a bedroom residential community. You have a strong chamber here. I think you have every business here and nearby involved in your chamber, and that's a really good thing. But you need that relationship with local government because it really falls on the backs of your residential taxpayers to fund the local services that you have. So we want to strengthen that. And overall, Charlie and I just want to get to work. We just want to roll up our sleeves. We're two people that have private sector experience, Charlie on the larger business scale, myself on the smaller business scale. Both have experience in government. Charlie, as a member of the Weld Salucci team in the executive branch, as the Health and Human Services Secretary and the Budget Secretary under that administration. Myself in the legislative branch. And two people that just have the real commitment to bringing good leaderships and accountability and transparency and balance back to government so we get good results. We get to work for you. We'll start cranking out jobs and get people working again. We'll make sure that state government works again at all levels, top to bottom, and make sure that those people that are not self-sufficient and that are dependent on government, to help them gain the skills and the education they need to get on a path where they can earn their way, be proud of their achievements, and become self-sufficient. That's how I was brought up. When my great-grandfather came here, he came here with that dream that he could work hard and earn his way, and we want that dream to be alive for everyone. That's what motivates me to get out and campaign on this trail to become your lieutenant governor. It's my children who are 10 and 8 years old, who attend the same public elementary school I did as a little girl. I just want, like every parent, my kids to have a good, solid education, good opportunities to be able to earn a good living right here in Massachusetts. It's every mother's dream to want their kids to be able to grow in their experiences right here near home. And that's certainly what I want for our family and hopefully for yours as well. So with all that, I just come to you with a thank you for listening to what we are all about, and to hoping that you'll consider us for your vote of support on November 4th, this election year. It matters. It's an open seat for governor, and whoever you elect, I predict, will be the governor and lieutenant governor for the next 8 years. It's very difficult to unseat an incumbent, and we certainly want the opportunity to work hard for you and to make Massachusetts great again. So with that, I'm happy to take some questions from you. Yes, Linda.
So I'm delighted that you're here. Thank you for coming, and also that you are an entrepreneur. That sort of falls into my wheelhouse of interest. Do you see a groundswell or an interest in teaching finance and entrepreneurship to young people, or sort of a mandate in the schools which isn't there, which probably should be?
Well, I do understand what that's all about. And first of all, let me just say, as we want to build a better relationship between our state and local government, we also aren't looking to add mandates that are not funded. So I think it's important that the government not impose more cost on our local communities. But let's get beyond that and talk about how young people need to have an understanding as to what the opportunities are ahead and how challenging it is to be a small business owner, how challenging it is to manage your finances at home, and how challenging it is in an economy that is not just Massachusetts. You're competing with other states in our country and other countries in our world. So they need to be equipped with everything to be able to earn their way and succeed in life. And that does come with financial literacy and a really deep understanding as to how they can empower themselves with the tools they need to do that. I also talk a lot about those issues with women, because women can be successful when they are economically secure. And I do think that the earlier we can start that discussion in a young person's life, the more productive and successful they will be. And I think we need to introduce those concepts perhaps through volunteers in our chambers, our nonprofit groups, our Rotaries, people that are business leaders in the community that can mentor young people. That's certainly something that we need to do a whole lot more with. Thank you. Yes, Paul.
With the kids that Linda brought up, to me, there's nothing more important than a 16-year-old getting a job and getting out in the workforce. I've seen it for so many years, what they learn, how they grow, and our current administration really does not want to listen to any suggestion that there should be a separate minimum wage for 16-year-olds. I don't understand how they don't realize that it's not going to be a job killer, or it's going to be a job killer for 16-year-olds if we have to pay them $11 an hour under the Senate's proposal. Could you comment on that?
I can. I do understand what you're saying. I know don't you remember your first jobs? Everyone does, right? The first job where you earned a paycheck. It was really a great experience. My first job was out at Spags in Shrewsbury. Anyone remember Spags? Okay, that was the place. And Spag gave every high school kid and college kid when they came home the opportunity to work. I learned how to work. And that is a great training ground for young people to have that experience, develop those skills, then earn a buck and understand how much of that dollar goes back to government for services that they may or the larger community benefits from. So as we have this discussion about the adjustments to the minimum wage, we do have a tip wage in Massachusetts that does apply to restaurants. And I think that same tip wage is what you're talking about. It gives you an opportunity to work, but also have tips that come into the calculation to the end wage that you have. But I also think that the training wage is something that we should give some really good thought to, because it does get young people into the workforce. It works for the employer, it works for the employee, and then they can move beyond that training wage up the ladder, earning their way to another job. So I do think there's great benefit to doing that for both the employer and our future workforce, and training them and getting them in early on in life. Yes.
Thank you.
Karen, quick question, sort of going off of what Paul was saying. If the minimum wage tax that's proposed gets in conference, they get together, and sometime this summer it gets passed, how can you and Charlie, if you're in November, have an effect on that?
Well, that's a good question, because once laws are, they're laws. Laws can be changed, laws can be amended. So we would have to see what the impact of the law is that they do implement, and see if that includes the things that we're proposing. We would like to see a small business tax credit, because we're concerned that businesses have to absorb the increase in the minimum wage, and if they don't have a tax credit to help them do that, that's an added burden to small business and makes it difficult for that business owner to grow a job. So if it's all about work, we don't want to hinder the ability for employers to grow jobs. We want to encourage them to grow more. So we would want to see what is actually passed and see if it incorporates our proposals for the tax credit and doubling the earned income tax credit, because we really do believe that for a worker to be able to have a refundable tax credit puts more money in their pocket to be able to spend and contribute to the economy. I'll give you two other examples quickly. Well, just one. We'll start with health care. Health care, Charlie Baker and I feel that Massachusetts has a good health care plan. I was in the legislature when we adopted it. It was difficult for businesses to absorb those costs and adjust to the new regulations, but we got 98% of the people insured here in Massachusetts. Now, our businesses are forced to comply with the federal health care plan, the Affordable Care Act. Charlie Baker and I are the only candidates that have said we need a full waiver, because Massachusetts already has its health care system. We will continue to push for that waiver as we consider the impacts of the federal system on Massachusetts, the cost to implement the website, the cost to fix the website, and the cost for so many people that are in transitional insurance that could be insured and pay for it, but that you as taxpayers are footing the bill for. Those are all things that we, when we are elected, if we have the honor of being so, can monitor and put a check on the system to make sure it's working to its fullest potential for you, working families and small businesses and individuals in our state.
Another
Yes,
quick question.
of
You were
course.
elected 6 times as a Republican in this state.
Five,
Oh,
five,
times.
yes.
Well, maybe 6. What do you contribute that to, that you were able to pull that off?
Well, I come from a working class area. Shrewsbury, Westboro were the two towns that I represented. I think they came to know me as someone, as a local official that was willing to work hard, look at all points of view, listen to what people have to say, and make a fair decision on their behalf. In the state legislature, I worked across party lines. I got things done. And first and foremost, people have to look at the candidates for who they are and put the political labels aside. And I think my constituents knew me for that. And they didn't think of me as a Republican. They thought of me as someone that can work hard and get things done. I was the lead sponsor of Jessica's Law, a law to better protect our children from sex offenders, to strengthen our laws to make sure that if you have a situation where there's a rape of a child, there's a mandatory minimum sentence attached to that with dangerous sex offenders. It took me 3 years to get that bill passed. But I worked across party lines as a Republican with Democrats, worked extremely hard for 3 years, but we got it done. And I think people knew me as someone for that, and we need more of that on Beacon Hill. Charlie understands how to work across party lines. The Weld-Salucci administration did that plenty and got a lot of things done when they did so. Certainly 27 tax cuts later, they grew 500,000 more jobs, new jobs in the state. They reformed the welfare system. They reformed the tort system and the workers' comp insurance system. Those are things that we can do when you work with someone like Speaker DeLeo to really get things moving ahead. One party doesn't own all the ideas. And I think this is a year when you have an open seat for governor where people will look at the candidates and for who they are and put the party labels aside. Charlie and I are our own brand. On the social issues, we're moderate, but on the fiscal issues, it's all about accountability, transparency, and bringing that balance back to Beacon Hill.
Thank you, Karyn.
Thank you. Have fun at the yard sale. I wish I could participate in that yard sale. I think you're going to have a great day. Good luck with that.
Come this Saturday.
And thank you for the opportunity to be with you this morning.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, we thank Karyn for coming to speak with us this morning, as well as David. Thanks again to the Winthrop Sun Transcript and Mike Cabral, WCAT, for their coverage. Thank you to the MVETs for hosting and Senna Cafe for their breakfast. Thank you all again for coming. Please mark your calendars for the multi-chamber event next Wednesday at Chatters at Revere Showcase Cinema and for Family Day at the Beach on Saturday, July 12th. Hope you all have a great day and a great summer. Thank you.